what's up everyone? In this video, we are continuing on with our series for modernizing the MyListing demos, and we are currently focusing still on the car demo. So apologies for being away for a couple days, but as I was working through this, I realized, well, I needed to go and work on some other areas of the site before I could then go style the submit form. So more specifically, I had to get into the listing types and overhaul all of the fields and the taxonomies and all that. So then when we look at styling the submit form, I had everything in there that I needed field-wise, so I could then apply the styling so nothing was missed, right? So quite a bit of time was spent on the listing type, fine-tuning those, fine-tuning the taxonomies, and then diving into the submit form, and then a whole other host of things, okay? So lots to get into in this video. And one really exciting addition, if you haven't seen it already, is the enhanced Add Listing Flow add-on. Brand new. It's implemented in all of the starter sites already. So I'm going to show you that live here. Okay. So first up is just a real quick note here on the basic search form. We see cool little black icons here for a just more of a sleek look, modern look. So I wanted to quickly mention those. Next, we're going to dive over to the single listings. Quickly looking at the MyListing demo. So this is what they give you before. So with those icons, it's just a way more professional look. Let's go back another level. So this versus this. It's just more modern, clean, that sort of thing. Okay, so let's continue on. So for single listings, let's go in and the share. I think I showed this in another video, how the share has been completely modernized. We see a nice overlay here. Looks really good in my opinion. There's one more thing I wanted to point out is the email. So if they click on the email share specifically, what this is going to do, and I've done this with all the starter sites I've ever built, is it's automatically going to inject a subject heading that says, I would like to share a listing from my listing car demo. It's going to automatically inject the name of your site in there. And it says in the body, hi, I thought you might be interested in the following listing. And then the listing name is injected as well as a link to the listing. So that is another special mention there. Okay, moving over to the listing types, like I said, major overhaul compared to how the MyListing developers built their listing types. They were just severely lacking. That's about all I can say. I'm just going to run through my list here and see if there's anything I need to actually show you. Overall, adjusted to utilize, not utilize new MyListing features. So in their listing types, how they have them configured is like it looks like it was almost set up. Well, I'm pretty sure it was set up at the very beginning of MyListing and whatever features they had in there. As they've been releasing updates to the theme, they haven't been going in and tweaking the demos. So I have now done that. So for example, you come in here with the fields, and let's say they added a new, I'm trying to think of something like, just imagine something that they added to a field. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I should have wrote that down. I can't remember, but there was just features in here that they've added, over the what is it, 6 years now, 7 years now, that they just didn't come in here and configure. So I took care of that. You just got to take my word for it. I wish I could think of something off the top of my head, but I can't recall what it is. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Listing packages specified to unlock package visibility feature. Okay, so in theirs, under packages, they didn't specify any. So it wasn't set up to do package visibility. So now that I've specified those packages, we can now go into the fields. And let's say we want to hide, I don't know, let's say we want to hide the gallery the gallery field unless they purchase a specific package. So now they could come in here, enable package visibility, and those packages are going to be available to them, whereas they were not before. Limit image upload size globally to 1 meg. So what we want to avoid doing is going into each of these individual fields and setting, whether it's the gallery or whatever, logo, going into any of the media fields and individually setting a maximum upload size. You do not want to do that because it's harder to manage. Instead, we just use a code snippet. And this is available from the club, is we're just going to globally limit the image upload size, the max image upload size. So by default, it limits it to all images to 1 meg across the board. So you can easily come in here and just change it to the value that you want. Okay. Super simple. Set it one place and forget it. Next up, I should say also too, I would highly recommend not allowing 1 meg image uploads even. I would go even smaller. I would go like 500 kilobytes. Try to get away with that. Try to go even lower. It's always easier to increase the value as you go along if maybe your customers complain. Whereas if you start high and then later find out, oh no, I've got a problem, I need to start then you've got to ask your customers to completely change the way they do things going forward. So just think that through. Try to limit the image sizes. It's just a good experience too. So when they go to upload their images, they're not like sitting there waiting and potentially timing out. You got to think that people a lot of times aren't going and just adding one image at a time. They're adding multiple. You got to think about the user experience. You got to think about how much disk space you are using on your server, things like that. What's next? Benefit of this snippet. Okay, so we went over that. Fields. So one thing I do is when you get into the demos, you'll see they don't have, they just have this, the very first title is just or very first field is just title. So they don't actually have a heading above the title. So they're injecting what I call like a general heading, in there. When they do that, if you just take that from the theme as they give you, you can't add an icon to it or anything. It's just injected in there automatically. So what I like to do is add a custom form heading above title, so or just put it at the very top. This frees you up to be able to do whatever you want. It gives you the freedom to add your own icons and whatever else it is that you want to do. So it unlocks that. What else? Added missing fields and properly configured them. So there's a lot of fields that were just should have been in here that weren't. So I've added those and configured those. I didn't go hog wild. I'm calling this like a light starter site. I didn't want these to turn out to be full blown starter sites that take me a long time, as long as my other starter sites to build. So just the really important stuff. Again, a light starter site, if you will, but they're way more featured than they would be if you just get the demos, all across the board, but specifically talking about listing types right now. All right, so what else did I do? I adjusted for a more realistic site and best practices as part of that overall field overhaul. So I went through every single field and overhauled them, adjusted them. Undesirable fields set to show in listing comparison. So you come in here and they would have fields set to show in the listing comparison pop-up that absolutely should not have been. And it was that way like across the board. So I had to go in and adjust that. You only want to show in the listing comparison the most important things that a customer needs to see when comparing a listing. So if they want to compare 2 or 3 cars that are available for sale or for rent, you don't want to go in there and start displaying related listings, images, things of that nature. You just want to get to the heart of the features and stuff, the make, model, the trim, the mileage, the cost, the used versus new, the really, really important stuff. And they didn't do that. Undesirable fields set to required. They had all kinds of fields set to required that shouldn't have been. It just creates a bad experience. Implemented package visibility, which I showed you. I limited the revisions from 15 to 5. So over here under previous revisions, you'll see we have a max of 5. By default, MyListing stores 15 revisions of your listing types in the database that you'll never use. I'd argue that you'd probably never use all 5 of these. So you could probably knock this down to 3 even. And I've done countless videos of where I mentioned why, it's better to actually, instead of using this system altogether, just use the export config option here, download it to your computer, give it a proper name, all of that stuff. So what is actually in the revisions. Because if I just click rollback here, I don't know what was in that revision, right? Typically these revisions are only as good as the last one. So I don't even know what the heck would be in all of these others. It'd be super dangerous. Whereas if you export it and then give it a name and maybe like a description of what you changed, kind of like a changelog, that's the much better way to do it. Cleared out stale revisions. So even though you make the change to only store 5 revisions, it still has the 15 in the database. So I removed all of those extra 10. Preview cards. All right, let's go over there. Let's go to our Explorer. Oh, we can actually go here. Preview cards in the footer, reduced footer details to more relevant and make them visible. So look at what I've done here. So I've changed the icon here to a road, which means mileage. And here is a calendar icon with the year of the car. And then we've got the car, and it's going to say whether it's new or used. Now let's compare that to what they did. Okay. You've got all of this stuff in here that, it's what this icon has nothing to do with mileage. This one's okay for fuel type, but that's not really an important feature that should be on a preview card, in my opinion, the type of fuel. The same thing here. You can't even see the text. I don't even know what this is. Maybe that's the transmission, but that icon, again, doesn't mean anything. I don't like this calendar icon. Otherwise, this is okay there. But look at that compared to this. Showing all of the data, showing the most important data that you need to see for buying and renting a car. Better icons, I showed you that, mentioned that. Add to comparison. That actually, let's do that together, actually. I don't think that was actually done. Let's go. I probably wrote that down and forgot to actually do it. So let's do it together. So we're going to go to preview card for each of our listing types. So we got for sale and for rent. Go to preview cards. Let's go to the footer. Okay, it is in there. Add to comparison. Footer. Okay, it is in there. So, it's because we're not on the Explore page. I'm stupid. So this wasn't in there before. You couldn't do the comparison. So I need to actually put in my notes to style this up, I believe, but we'll see how this looks. So add to comparison, compare items. This is actually not that bad. I think we're going to let this roll. I think this looks good. One thing I might do, I'll put it in my notes. Listing compare. I'm going to make that top bar black. So this right here, I'm going to make this black. So it pops off the screen. So that's the only change I'm going to make there. But they didn't even have that listing comparison enabled in there. Okay, what's next? There is so much to mention here. Okay, listing taxonomies overhauled. I restructured all of these for a more realistic website. So you can use this as a real world website to get you started. So we go under listings. Let's go to categories, for example. The categories were all messed up. They weren't realistic at all. If you go to any kind of a car buying or renting site, you'll see what I mean. So categories have been overhauled. Regions have just been, the typical regions I use just as temporary examples. Tags have been overhauled to more realistic features on cars these days. Make, model, trim. And as you see here, these are custom taxonomies. They weren't before. So this is all set up and ready to go. Body style, engine, drivetrain, transmission, suspension, exterior color, interior color, seat color, and so on and so forth. So it's, again, a more realistic setup than the demos. What else? Added regions, adjusted tags, features, custom listing taxonomies. Okay, did all that. Okay, now let's get over to the submit form. And as part of this, I'm going to show you, I just did a video right before this one to announce the enhanced Add Listing Flow add-on. So you're going to see it again right here. So we go to Add Listing. We choose our listing type. We then choose our package. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to actually delete some orders. Let's see. I have no orders in there. Let's see. Because that's going to skip checkout. It says I already own these packages. Let me go to users, paid listing packages. There we go. So let me clear these out. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's refresh. Let's start over. This is really slick. So let's go to add listing, choose your listing type, choose your package, pay first before you do the listing, get those conversions, get people invested in completing their listing by collecting payment first. We click place order. Now we complete our listing. Meanwhile, back over here under WooCommerce and orders, we have collected that payment, which is processing. And now the customer has incentive to check out and complete their, or not check out, but complete their listing at their leisure, right? So that is in there. Disable section animations. Yeah. So as you scroll down through a submit form, by default, MyListing has this kind of like an animation. So if I go over to the demo, when you change into a new section, there's kind of like this animation that happens. I'm not a huge fan of that. Most my clients don't like it either, so we always remove it. So that's been removed. All right. Local translate was used to create this custom heading and this link right here, which is going to pull up the contact page. Okay, so let me show you how I did that. Local translate, my listing. So this is how they typically have it compared to this, which is just night and day. So let's do a search for this word, these words, I should say. There we go. Clicking into that. This is what I used right here. We can use a little bit of HTML in there to style it up and to add our links. And that is what gives us this. Okay, moving on down. Let's see. Add Listing Flow CSS package, which is now available from the club if you want to go grab it. We go to WP Codebox, CSS, Add Listing Flow. We see that the conditions here are applying it to any URL that has the word add-listing in the slug or edit, because you also need to target when people edit their listings, and that's what this part of the URL does. So those conditions will apply this CSS, which, like I said, is available on the club right now. So this is going to style up that choose a listing type page. It's going to style up your pricing tables, and it's going to style up your submit form, which we are looking at right now together. So because we've changed that default general heading that would appear up here at the top that MyListing injects by default, we need to hide that original one, which I do with some CSS. So that's taken care of. Borders. So with the input fields, you'll see a nice border here. So when you click into it, also, it's got like a focus border. Yeah, then there's also these backgrounds I put, so it's easy to see where you enter text. Whereas if you look at the MyListing demos, it's just all white. Everything is white. It's hard to tell where and what you should enter here. So look at this description box versus this one. You know, it's just night and day. Okay, text field backgrounds, input fields as buttons. So for coordinates. So we scroll down here and we say enter coordinates manually. So when you look at this, these are actually look like individual fields now. Whereas if you come over here and you go to location, enter coordinates manually, you just get these white, like it looks like, what if I was a customer, I would be like, how do I know to click into those? Okay, totally different experience. What else? Bug fixes, small descriptions on the same line. So for example, if we go down to, we say like here, see how this is on a different line? We have the label and then we have the small text on another line. How MyListing does it by default, and it's probably why they don't put any in here. I don't know if they do that or not, but without the CSS that I've added, this stuff will all appear like on the same line running together, and it just doesn't look great. Okay, so that's been fixed. Checkboxes rounded. Okay, so rounded checkboxes. What else? Media fields, remove text to enhance design. So if we go down to the media fields, there used to be some text that appeared at the bottom of this. We don't need to show that anymore because we are doing guidelines and tips, which I now need to make a note to go back and do this. Submit form. I need to enhance the links. Okay, so these are links and you can't see them. So that's on me. I need to fix that. But if you click into those, that should bring up a pop-up, but it can't in this case. So another thing I'm going to need to do is link to a resource, probably the support page. So I'll figure that out. But these should link somewhere to help give guidelines, so we don't need that little text like this. Okay, so we're eliminating this text. We don't need to see that there. The other reason too is we can't. It's harder to change this. It's just better to get rid of it. Just trust me on that. So those links I'll get working and styled up and actually doing something there. What's up next? Side nav. Also, because we're hiding the default general section that MyListing injects for you, we want to hide that. So that was hidden from the side navigation over here. What else? What else? Okay, let's go to the top of the page and just run through this because I'm thinking there's some things that I forgot to mention here, and there is. Okay, so scrolling on down here, we've got custom heading colors here compared to what MyListing does, which is just, again, everything's just white and hard to read. Coming on down here, this was completely overhauled here compared to what they do right here. So this experience isn't the end of the world, but this is much better. Okay, custom styled, everything. That is done with one of the add-ons from the club. So with this add-on right here, the WP editor field dark mode, it was initially designed to work with dark mode versions of websites, MyListing websites. I had it created for the Canvas dark mode site. But what you can do is easily tweak it to show a different color in this for the background of this field. Without that plugin, you are not able to do this. Okay, it'll just be a white background. Okay, moving on down. What else can I show you? What else can I show you? I bolded these little selector icons, whereas over here, they're a little harder to see. They're kind of faint. Okay, what else? What else? What else? Like I said, rounded. So I did some CSS to put all of these checkboxes on one line, and I put in enough of these so you could see how it look when they start wrapping on other lines. Alternatively, how they're going to appear is stacked, which is just going to make your form that much longer. So we want to avoid that. So I can't really show you in the MyListing demo, but it would look like this and this. It'd just be one stacked on top of the other. So CSS was used to fix that. Okay. What else? What else? What else? That might be it. A little hover effect here. So when they go to upload their image, that's cool. What else? A little styling was done down here for the submit listing preview and save as draft, just mainly around removing a border that wasn't needed down here. Made it look a little wonky. Completely customized, as I like to do with starter sites, is the side navigation. Little hover animation, nice borders, consistent coloring with the branding compared to this. Okay, completely way different. You can see how drastically different the experience is with this. Okay, so 2 minor tweaks on my list to do, and then I'll update the CSS packages for the submit form. So this is going to take me just 5 minutes. Make the links stand out, which I'll do, and then actually link to a resource, which will probably be a support page. So if I go to the support page, I'll probably drop it in here somewhere. Okay, that's a 5-minute change. So that'll be done right after I hit record here. I want to mention the add-ons. So my approach for this starter site, because this is, again, what I'm calling I think I'm going to call it a light starter site. I have not completely got set on the name. It doesn't have all of the add-ons in here because it doesn't make sense to have certain add-ons. Like, for example, it doesn't make sense to have an enhanced permalink, enhanced region permalinks, or enhanced category permalinks in here because we don't have the ability to do dynamic data because we're trying to do everything for free with free plugins, just the theme and free plugins. So if you were to buy this starter site and you want to do something like that, and then let's say you go and you grab Elementor Pro, either from me, whether you're like a website care client or manage my listing or however, but if you become a client, I can get you Elementor Pro. And then once you do that, then we get those other add-ons in there to make your site more dynamic. But out of the box, I'm just giving everybody all of the add-ons that make sense, which is some still really, really powerful ones. The direct messaging admin center, the enhanced ad listing flow, which I've showed you, the enhanced listing keyword search, and then also what I showed you, the WP editor field dark mode. Okay, so you get all of those with the starter site. New resources that have been created or updated since this video. The global CSS package, the color scheme CSS package, the listing previews CSS package, which is new, the single post CSS package, which is new. So if you haven't seen that or don't remember seeing that, go to blog, we pull up a post, that's this design. So everything you see here in this design is in that. The listing previews obviously are these, which I've shown you already. And what else? The add listing flow, which I showed you already. So it's from this point forward, from the moment you hit add listing, this is all included in there. So choose your listing type, choose your package. All of this is included in the add listing flow CSS package. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a list of many more things to do, and I will see you in the next video to update you on all of that stuff. It's going to be on the short list is I got a 404, styling the 404 page by hand with the CSS package. I'm going to do that listing compare top black bar. I'm going to do the submit form links that I've showed you, fix those up. And then trying to think of what else. Maybe I think I can now move on to the single listings, like styling those up. So let's see, let's get those back here. Waiting. There we go. All right, so we get into a single listing. So I think that's going to be next on my list too. I'm going to write that down right now. Single listings, one of my favorite things to design. Okay, so I think that's going to be next. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you in the next one.